welcome back to World of Immersion. Today we are going to be doing our top 10 rides at Disney's California Adventure. This park is super cool. There are a ton of great rides, but how do we rank them? Be sure to stay tuned and find out. But before we start today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss when we have brand new content out on our channel. We're going to be doing daily uploads from now on, so we're going to have tons of content out for you. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss the videos. And be sure to check out all of our brand new merch up on our channel. The link is in the description below. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright, so starting off at number 10, we have Goofy's Sky School. Now this ride is a lot of fun, however for me it's just a clone, so I can't really put it that high on the list. It's a clone of a Wild Mouse coaster. These can be found everywhere, and really the theming is not that great on this ride. They really just took it, plopped it down, and added a little bit of cardboard cutouts, and that's all there is for theming. There's not that much, to be honest. And like I said, don't get me wrong, it is a really fun ride, and it's great for families and kids, but honestly, it's just a cloned ride. You can find it really everywhere. In fact, Coast Rider over at Knott's Berry Farm is very similar, and that ride I would say has the superior layout. Goofy Sky School may be a little bit more comfortable because of the restraints, but those cars are still really small and can be kind of uncomfortable. And the ride itself is not that great. However, it's definitely better than a lot of the other rides in the park. But coming in at number 9 is our first dark ride on the list, and that is the Little Mermaid Ariel's Undersea Adventure. Now this ride I think is really underrated. It uses the same ride system as Haunted Mansion over at Disneyland. It uses an Omni-Mover ride system, and it is just a ton of fun. It's a really cool dark ride. While it is a little bit short, I think the theming is really cool, especially that main scene with the under the sea music playing in the background. It is just a ton of fun. It's one of my favorite rides in the park, and I think it's definitely very underrated. And I definitely would recommend checking out this ride, especially because it rarely gets more than a 10-minute wait. That line moves super quickly, and it's not that popular, so it is a really fun ride, and I would definitely check it out. Next, coming in at number 8 is going to be Pixar Pal Around. This is the giant Ferris wheel that you can see from everywhere inside the park, even outside of the park. I think this ride is really fun. It's one of my favorite Ferris wheels, and normally I'm not a huge fan of Ferris wheels. They actually really scare me. However, I love the swinging side of this. For some reason, for me, the swinging side is a lot less scary than the non-swinging. Maybe it's because it doesn't go as high up, or the fact that it's actually swinging, so it feels more like a roller coaster to me, but I don't know. Honestly, though, it is a ton of fun. I prefer the swinging side a lot, but many people prefer the non-swinging. It's definitely all about preference, but that's why they have both of the options, so you can do one or the other. But overall, it's just a really cool ride, and it gives by far the best views of all the entire Disneyland Resort out of any ride in the entire park or in the entire resort. It is so much fun. I'm a huge fan of this ride, and I would definitely recommend it. Now coming in at number 7, we have Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure. This ride I was super excited for when it opened. However, I was quite a bit disappointed when it did eventually open. I feel like this ride was a little bit overhyped. Honestly, it is a really cool ride system. It's cool how you can use your hands to shoot and you don't even need to hold a gun and you can sling the webs. It's really fun. I think it's a great ride. However, it's really nothing compared to the other ride in Avengers Campus. And I think Avengers Campus as a land is really cool, but this ride was just a little bit disappointing. It's also a pretty short ride and there are no physical sets. It is pretty much entirely reliant on screens, which is something that I'm really not a huge fan of in general. I love when rides use physical sets. I feel like they're so much more immersive. But like I said, don't get me wrong, this ride is a ton of fun, especially if you're a huge Spider-Man fan or just Marvel fan in general. You're going to love this ride. The queue is also pretty well themed once you get inside past the pre-show. The pre-show is also really cool. I would say that's one of the highlights of the ride for me is the pre-show. But this ride also gets such a long line for what it is, so that's why it comes in so low on this list. But coming in at number 6 is a ride very, very similar to Web Slingers. However, I actually prefer it, and that is Toy Story Midway Mania. While this ride may be smaller, I feel like it is just so much better. It's also a lot older. However, for me, it's just so much more fun. I feel like the shooting aspect on this works so much better than it does for Web Slingers. It feels like just a bunch of carnival games. The ride is so whimsical and so much fun. It is so much fun also to compete with your friends. And this ride actually moves pretty fast. You can get some crazy forces when you're going around some of those turns. And I'm not even kidding. This ride is really fun. It can be a little bit thrilling, but just the shooting aspect is so much fun. It's so much fun to compete with your friends. This is one of the best shooting dark rides on the planet, in my opinion. It's one of the most fun and the most competitive. And that's why it comes in higher than Web Slingers on the list for me. All right, but we've made it to the top 5, and coming in at number 5, we have Grizzly River Run. This is by far one of the best river rapids rides out there. It's definitely my personal favorite. It is so much fun, it has two really, really good drops, and then the rapids themselves are also incredible. And while it doesn't really tell much of a story, the theming is so incredible. It really feels like you're in a national park, and it's just so nicely landscaped, and there's rock work everywhere. It is so immersive. I'm such a huge fan of this ride. It is also such a long ride too, especially for river rapids. The theming is so incredible. It's subtle yet perfect. I am such a huge fan of this ride, and the land it's in is one of my favorite lands of all time. Grizzly Peak is so incredible. It is so immersive. And yeah, just overall, this ride is a ton of fun. That last drop is so much fun, where it spins you and you go around the drop spinning like crazy. You get some crazy laterals, and you get soaked on this ride as well too. Especially if that geyser is going off towards the end, you are going to get drenched. But it is so much fun. I definitely recommend Grizzly River Run, especially on a hot day, because you will definitely get drenched on this ride. All right, and coming in at number 4 is the only other roller coaster in the park, and that is going to be Incredicoaster. Now, I am probably in the minority that preferred California Screamin' to Incredicoaster. I thought the ride's theme overall was much more subtle and so perfect for the type of ride that it was, and I loved the soundtrack on the old ride. However, Incredicoaster is still a ton of fun. While it's not really the smoothest ride, in fact, that loop can be pretty rough. Overall, it's just a really fun coaster. It's such a long ride. It's actually, I believe, the longest steel roller coaster with a loop currently. I could be wrong about that, so somebody please correct me in the comment section below if I am wrong. But overall, it's just a ton of fun. It's not the most forceful ride, and those bunny hills definitely do not give any airtime, but it's just such a fun ride, and I love when roller coasters have soundtracks. They add so much to the ride, and this ride's soundtrack is really good. But like I said, I did prefer California Screamin' soundtrack. So this ride probably would have been higher on the list if it was still California Screamin'. However, for now as Incredicoaster, it sits at number 4. Now, speaking of incredible soundtracks, at number 3, we have Soarin' Around the World. I am such a huge fan of this ride. I know I talked about in my last video about Disneyland how I'm not a huge fan of motion simulator rides. However, this ride is the exception. I feel like this ride is so perfect. It's a long ride and it is just so immersive. It's not very thrilling. It doesn't really tell much of a story, but it's just so perfect for what it is. There's nothing quite like it. It really does feel like you are flying through all of these different scenes that it's showing on the screen. They pump in the smells, which add so much, and the wind is blowing in your face, especially if you're in the front middle section of this ride. It is just so incredible. You will understand it when you ride it. This ride is so much fun, and the soundtrack also is so perfect. It adds so much to this ride. While the queue is really not the most themed, and it could definitely do with being a much longer and themed queue, I think it makes up for the fact of how good this ride really is. Right now, for the next few weeks, it is Soarin' over California, which is also really good. However, I do prefer Soarin' over the world. I think that the scenes are a little bit better, and they are a little bit higher quality. They also do some transitions between the scenes a lot better in Soarin' around the world, but that's okay. Soarin' over California is still a ton of fun, and I would definitely recommend checking this out on your visit to California Adventure. It is so much fun. All right, and we've made it to the top 2. Now, both of these rides are incredible, and they're also some of the most thrilling rides in the park. So coming in at number 2, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Now, unlike Incredicoaster, I actually do prefer Guardians of the Galaxy over Tower of Terror. I think Guardians of the Galaxy works so much better with this ride system. I think over in Orlando, their Tower of Terror works better than ours used to. Theirs is so much more immersive, and I loved that one over in Orlando. However, here, I think Guardians of the Galaxy is a perfect fit. It fits now in with Avengers Campus. It's got a land to be part of rather than just kind of sitting there, not really part of any land. But Guardians of the Galaxy is so much fun. It is so cool how it has a randomized drop sequence and randomized song that plays along with it. The pre-show is also incredible with the really realistic rocket animatronic, and just the queue itself is so well themed. Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout is one of my favorite rides of all time. It's actually my personal favorite drop tower of all time. Even though it's not the tallest or the fastest or even the most thrilling, it's just so well themed. The soundtrack works so perfectly, and that view you get from the top of the entire Disneyland Resort is unbeatable. It is so much fun. I definitely would recommend this ride to anybody visiting California Adventure, unless you're scared of heights or scared of drops, because this ride can definitely be one of the most thrilling rides in the entire resort. However, it is not my number one ride in the park, and that honor goes to the one and only Radiator Springs Racers. This ride is so impressive. Just looking at it from off-ride, it is huge. The set that they used to make this ride is so incredible. All of Radiator Springs, the Cars Land at California Adventure, is incredible, but this ride itself is huge. They remade all of Monument Valley, all of the Radiator Springs area. It looks so insane. And then the ride itself is so incredible. Like I said before with a lot of these other rides, it has a really immersive queue. However, I would say this is by far the most immersive in the entire park. It is a long queue, and this ride can get a really long line. So I would definitely recommend doing it early on in the day or utilizing that single rider line. That single rider line can be super helpful. But this ride system is really cool. It utilizes a dark ride system that can also go super fast. The exact same ride system that can be found over at Test Track in Orlando. This ride is so much fun. I actually preferred this one over to Test Track. Even though Test Track is faster, this ride is just so much more immersive. And then the dark ride scenes are so incredible. The animatronics are really good, actually, and it's so immersive, too. It's dark in there. It feels like nighttime. And some of those scenes can be really, really good. They found a way to make it feel really fast, even though the ride's top speed is not even that fast at all. It's just so much fun. And then at the end where you get to race another car, it's unlike any other ride in the entire park or any other ride in the world, to be honest. This ride is so much fun, and I definitely would recommend it if you're visiting California Adventure. However, that is going to do it for my ranking of the top 10 rides at California Adventure. Please be sure to comment down below your ranking of your top 10 rides at the park, because I know it's definitely going to vary from mine. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at World of Immersion, but that is going to do it for our video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.